here for this one. Let's focus on some potential trade candidates to watch. As the draft nears, we're going to start with Jalen Ramsey, of course. So what do we know about him?
Major name to watch around the NFL draft. The Miami Dolphins are currently shopping Jalen Ramsey, trying to find a home for him. The setup they have with the player is, hey, we're going to look around, we're going to comb the market, see what we have, then we will report back to you with potential teams. That has not happened yet. Certainly after round 1 or day 2 of the draft, that could heat up. He should have value, but they could draft a corner with that 13th overall pick to potentially replace Ramsey.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? They'd like to know what's happening with him. Either way, he's going to be on the move, right? So let's say if he is to be traded, RC, what team should be calling about him?
You know what? I would love to see him with the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens. The Buffalo Bills went out and they re-signed Tre'Davious White to a 1-year contract. That doesn't mean that Jalen Ramsey wouldn't have a place in that secondary. And think about the Baltimore Ravens and the way that they were attacked on the corners last. I have Nate Wiggins outside, but in your sub packages, Marlon Humphrey will move inside as well. To have a guy like Jalen Ramsey who is versatile, who can be used as a chess piece, would be huge for that defense.
All right, Jeremy, how about the latest you're hearing? Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert potentially on the trade market.
Yeah, this has sort of been boiling for a while, Laura, throughout the offseason. The Eagles, my sense is they've been open to trading him. Nothing firm and fast that they're actively shopping him, but this could heat up around the NFL draft. You have several teams looking for a tight end in those first 3 rounds. If they strike out and don't get the guy they want, perhaps day 3, this really heats up. Now, he has an option bonus of $14 million, but it's not due until the beginning of 2025. It's not guaranteed at this point until then. So a team could rework his contract as part of a trade. Yeah,
that's incentivizing. Mina, what team would make the most sense for Goddard if he's traded?
I really like the Chargers for him. Jeremy made an excellent point that I think it's going to come down to how the first round of the draft shakes out, who gets Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. And if the Chargers are the odd man out, I would also throw the Jets, the Colts into this category. Then Goddard would be a nice consolation prize. LA has tight ends who can block, but they need another pass catcher quite desperately, frankly, for Justin Herbert. And Dallas Goedert brings you consistency at the position, had some injuries last year, but has played a lot of football, and I think still has a lot of football to give. So that'd be a good pickup for LA.
All right, the Bengals have given defensive end Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. Feels like a while since we've talked about this. What's the latest there?
Well, the latest is this is at a stalemate. So they have not made major progress on a new contract with Cincinnati, but Cincinnati simply doesn't want to trade him. They put this massive first-round pick type tag trade on him, and teams don't want to give that up at this point. Certainly there's interest, but more for like a day 2 pick. Indianapolis Colts would make a lot of sense reuniting with Lou Anarumo, but there really isn't a lot of traction on a trade. It's more about whether he can get a deal with Cincinnati, and will Cincinnati take a pass rusher in the first round? That could really complicate matters at this point. But no, they're not close to a deal. He wants big money. They don't have it yet.
That's interesting. Can you imagine Trey Hendrickson's face and thoughts if they did they do take a pass rusher in the first round? All right, if Hendrickson does get traded, where would be the best fit for him, RC?
I want him to go to Washington so bad. I don't even know if this makes financial sense. But when you have Jaden Daniels on the offensive side and you look at what they were from a defensive standpoint, depending on guys like Armstrong to create pressure, if you add a Trey Hendrickson, they went out, got Kinlaw to be in the inside. This would be a huge move for a Joe Witt defense that desperately needs pass rush and needs to be able to create it from 4-man without having to bring so much pressure from the second level.
RC, you made it make sense, okay? I like it. I'm in. All right, you mentioned Kirk Cousins earlier, Jeremy. He's still a Falcon. What's holding up any potential deals?
What's holding it up is the Falcons are remaining firm, Laura. They don't want to move on this for a measly late day 3 pick. I mean, it would take real traction, real draft capital, or a team willing to pay a lot of the $37 million he's got in guarantees to make this happen. Teams have simply not been willing to do that. The Cleveland Browns have sort of moved on, getting Joe Flacco. So it's very possible the Falcons go through the draft and then they reassess. Maybe somebody makes a deal down the road for him.
Yeah, somebody's going to need a quarterback, right? Mina, is there an ideal spot for Cousins if he does get dealt?
The Cleveland Browns are the team that keeps making the most sense to me, especially as it becomes increasingly unlikely that they're going to take a quarterback with that 2nd overall pick. There's a schematic fit between Kirk Cousins, Kevin Stefanski's offense, so Cousins obviously is a different quarterback coming off of the injuries. The question is whether or not there will be a financial one. Jeremy alluded to his salary. I don't think Cleveland, who's still paying Deshaun Watson all that money, wants to pay much for Kirk Cousins. So it's going to come down to whether or not we're willing to part with mid-round draft pick and whether or not Atlanta's willing to eat some of that cost.
Yeah, we just had to keep an eye on that one, right? Something's going to happen there. And with the draft less than a week away, lots of questions about what the Saints will do with their 9th overall pick in the first round. Derek Carr's shoulder is injured. The severity of the injury remains unclear. Could that push them to take a...
Welcome back, Eagles Nation, to another episode of Eagles Nest News, your trusted home for all things Philadelphia Eagles. The team, the legend, the legacy. Whether you're tuning in from South Philly, across the country, or flying high with us around the world, this is where we break it down, analyze the moves, and bring the nest together. Now, we've got some serious heat to talk about today. Buckle up, because there's a potential blockbuster trade rumor flying through the NFL, and it's got the Eagles written all over it. That's right. Analysts are buzzing, draft boards are shifting, and it looks like Howie Roseman might be cooking something bold. Something that could redefine our defensive front for years to come. NFL.com draft analyst Chad Reuter recently dropped a bomb in his latest mock draft, suggesting the Philadelphia Eagles trade up to the number 26 overall pick, currently held by the Los Angeles Rams, to select none other than Ole Miss All-American Walter Nolen, a defensive tackle with elite upside. Let's break that down. Here's the deal Reuter's proposing. Philadelphia sends its second-round pick to the Rams in exchange for pick number 26 and a third-rounder. In return, we land a high-ceiling defensive beast in Nolen, a player who could immediately step into the shoes of Milton Williams, who left in free agency after being instrumental in our Super Bowl run. Now you may be asking, is Walter Nolen worth it? Let's look at the tape. In 2024, Nolen racked up 6.5 sacks and 48 total tackles, putting up numbers that demand attention. ESPN ranks him as the number 26 overall prospect, and analyst Steve Munch had this to say. Nolen had 14.5 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks last season. He is an outstanding run defender who wins in different ways. He slips blocks, gets into the backfield, and fights off double teams. He's got range, motor, and technique. The kid is relentless. That's the kind of tenacity and versatility we love to see in Midnight Green. He's not just a space eater, he's a playmaker. And if you look at the losses we've endured on the defensive line, Josh Sweat and Milton Williams gone, the timing for a move like this couldn't be more perfect. Let's be real. We've always been a team that builds from the trenches. Our championship DNA runs through the defensive line. Cox, Graham, Sweat, Reddick, that's the heartbeat. Now, with the torch passing to a new generation, Walter Nolen could be that next foundational piece. A guy who fits our scheme, our culture, and brings that hunger to dominate up front. Now, Eagles fans, we want to hear from you. This is where you come in. Do you like the idea of trading up for Nolen at 26? Would you send that second-round pick to the Rams to make it happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you stay put and trust in Howie to make magic with the picks we've got? Or are you ready to see us fly up the board and grab a defensive difference maker? And remember, this isn't just about filling a gap. This is about building a future. A defense that can carry us not just through the regular season, but deep into another Super Bowl run. Because let's face it, we're not here to rebuild. We're here to reload. And this draft is a golden opportunity to keep the Eagles soaring. Let's also think long-term. The Eagles have a ton of draft capital over the next 2 years, and that flexibility is everything. If you can turn that into blue-chip talent while still keeping core assets in place, that's how dynasties are built. Walter Nolen isn't just a name on a draft card. He's a building block, a potential Pro Bowler in the making. And if we land him, we're talking about a D-line with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, and now Nolen. That's not a wall. That's a wrecking crew. Not to mention, with a third-round pick coming back from the Rams, we still walk away with plenty of room to maneuver in the mid-rounds. That's Howie Roseman magic at work. And let's not forget, this front office has a track record of hitting on the big ones. We've seen it before, and we may be about to see it again. So, what do you think, Eagles Nation? Is Walter Nolen the guy to bring the heat back to the trenches? Would you make the trade? Or do you think there's another move out there that makes more sense for the Birds? Let's talk about it. Hit the comments below. Give us your take. And while you're at it, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a beat from the Eagles Nest. We're not just covering the news. We're building a community of passionate, informed, fired-up fans who believe in this team. Every move, every draft pick, every snap, it all starts here. From the war room to the field, we've got your back. This is Eagles Nest News. Fly, Eagles fly, and let's get ready to dominate.